Hello everyone, I'm Leonardo, 32 years old. I was in a car accident that wasn't my fault. The other driver was clearly responsible and I suffered serious injuries. I hired a lawyer to help me get compensation for my medical bills and lost wages. His name was Mr. Thompson. We went to court, and after months of fighting, we finally won the case. The judge awarded me a large settlement. I was relieved and thought my ordeal was over. Mr. Thompson told me it would take a few weeks to process the payment. I trusted him after all, he was my lawyer. Weeks turned into months, and I started getting suspicious. I called his office, but his secretary kept putting me off. Something didn't feel right. I decided to visit his office to get an update. That's when I met with his assistant, who told me something that would change everything. Mr. Thompson has absconded with the settlement funds, she said. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I demanded to know more, and that's when the truth started to come out. I had met Mr. Thompson through a friend who had used his services before. He seemed professional, confident, and knowledgeable about the law. I trusted him immediately. He took my case and we started working on it. He was always prepared, always on top of things. I thought I had made the right choice. He filed the lawsuit, gathered evidence, and represented me in court. I was impressed by his expertise. After the settlement was awarded, he told me he would handle the paperwork and ensure the payment was processed. I didn't think twice about it. I was grateful to have him on my side. But now I'm wondering if I was blinded by my trust in him. The assistant's words kept echoing in my mind. Mr. Thompson has absconded with the settlement funds. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I asked the assistant for more information, and she handed me a folder with some documents. This is all we have, she said. It seems Mr. Thompson has been in financial trouble for a while. I started going through the documents, and what I saw made my blood run cold. I was supposed to receive a settlement check for hundreds of thousands of dollars, the result of a long and grueling lawsuit. My lawyer, Mr. Thompson, had told me it would be deposited directly into my account, but when I called the bank, they said there was no record of the deposit. I called Mr. Thompson's office and his secretary told me that there might have been a delay. I asked her to check on it and get back to me. Days turned into weeks, and I still hadn't received the check. I called Mr. Thompson's office again, and this time the secretary sounded nervous. "Let me check with Mr. Thompson," she said. She got back on the line a few minutes later. "Mr. Thompson says there's been a problem with the check. He'll look into it and get back to you." I didn't hear back from him. I tried calling him again, but my calls went straight to voicemail. Something was wrong. I could feel it. I decided to visit his office to get some answers. When I arrived, the receptionist looked uncomfortable. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm here to see Mr. Thompson," I replied. "I'm afraid he's not available right now." "I'll wait," I said, taking a seat. She hesitated, then picked up the phone. "Let me check with him." After a few minutes, she hung up the phone. "Mr. Thompson is not available today. You'll need to make an appointment." I knew something was off. I asked to speak to one of his partners or associates. She hesitated again, then picked up the phone. "Let me check." A few minutes later, a young associate came out to speak with me. "Hi, I'm Mr. Thompson's associate. What can I help you with?" "I'm here about my settlement check," I said. "I haven't received it and Mr. Thompson isn't returning my calls." The associate looked uncomfortable. "Let me check on that for you." He disappeared into the back office. When he returned, his expression was grave. "I think we need to talk in private." The associate led me to a small conference room. "Please, have a seat," he said. I sat down and he followed suit. "I'm afraid I have some bad news," he said. "Mr. Thompson has misappropriated funds from several client accounts, including yours." My mind went blank. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "He's taken the settlement money," the associate replied. "All of it. We're not sure where he's gone or how much he's taken from other clients." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "How could he do this?" I demanded. The associate shook his head. "We don't know. We're trying to figure out what happened and how to recover the funds." "Recover the funds?" I repeated. "You're telling me that the money is gone, and you're just now trying to figure out what happened?" The associate nodded. "I'm afraid so. We're working with the authorities to try and track down Mr. Thompson and recover the money." I stood up, my heart racing. "I want to know everything," I said. "I want to know how this happened, and I want to know what you're going to do to fix it." The associate nodded. "I'll do my best to keep you informed, but I need to warn you, it's going to be a long and difficult process." I demanded to know where Mr. Thompson was, but the associate just shook his head. "We don't know. He's not answering his phone and his office is empty." I asked him to check if anyone had any idea where he might be. The associate hesitated, then picked up the phone and started dialing. After a few minutes, he hung up. His wife said she hasn't seen him in days. She's worried about him too. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You mean to tell me that you have no idea where the man is who stole my money?" The associate nodded. "I'm afraid not. We're working with the authorities to try and locate him." I stood up, my anger boiling over. "I want to talk to someone in charge," I said. "I want to know what they're going to do to fix this." The associate nodded. "Let me see if I can find someone who can help you." He left the room, leaving me fuming. A few minutes later, a senior partner came in. "I'm sorry about what's happened," he said. "We'll do everything we can to recover your money and bring Mr. Thompson to justice." I glared at him. "You'll do everything you can. That's not good enough. I want action, not promises." The partner nodded. "I understand. We'll do our best to make things right." I wasn't convinced. I wanted to know what had happened, and I wanted my money back. I couldn't sleep, my mind racing with thoughts of Mr. Thompson and the missing money. I kept replaying our conversations, wondering if I had missed something, if there were signs I had ignored. I tossed and turned, my anger and frustration simmering just below the surface. The next morning, I called the law firm again, demanding to speak to someone in charge. They put me through to a partner who apologized for the situation and promised to do everything they could to recover my money. But I wasn't convinced. I felt betrayed, not just by Mr. Thompson, but by the entire law firm. I started making my own inquiries, trying to track down Mr. Thompson and figure out what had happened to my money. I spent hours on the phone, talking to his acquaintances and business associates, but no one seemed to know where he was. As the days turned into weeks, my anxiety grew. I had bills to pay, and without my settlement money, I was struggling to make ends meet. I felt like I was losing control, like my whole life was spiraling out of control, and then one day I received a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Leonardo," a voice said. "I think we need to talk." I hesitated for a moment before responding. "Who is this?" I asked. "Someone who can help you get your money back," the voice replied. "Meet me at the coffee shop on Main Street at 2 p.m. if you want to know what really happened to your settlement." The line went dead. I stood there staring at my phone, wondering who was on the other end of the line and what they knew. I decided to take a chance and go to the meeting. Maybe this person could provide some answers. I spent the morning doing some research, trying to dig up any information I could about Mr. Thompson and his law firm. I discovered that there had been other complaints about him, other clients who had trouble getting their money. I felt a sense of unease, wondering how many others had been affected by his actions. At 2 p.m. I arrived at the coffee shop and spotted a woman sitting in the corner, sipping a cup of coffee. She looked up and caught my eye. "Mr. Leonardo?" she asked. I nodded, and she gestured for me to sit down. "My name is Rachel," she said. "I used to work for Mr. Thompson's law firm. I know what happened to your money." Rachel leaned in close. "Mr. Thompson has been transferring client funds into offshore accounts," she said. "I've been trying to gather evidence, but it's not easy. The firm's security is tight, and I don't have access to all the records." I listened intently, my mind racing with questions. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I think you're in danger," Rachel replied. "Mr. Thompson will stop at nothing to keep his scheme going. If he finds out I've been talking to you, he'll try to silence me." I felt a surge of determination. "We need to go to the authorities," I said. Rachel nodded. "I've been trying to get someone to listen, but it's not easy. We need solid evidence before we can take action." I realized that this was going to be a long and difficult road. "Let's start gathering evidence," I said. Rachel nodded, and together we began to formulate a plan. But just as we were getting started, Rachel's phone rang. She looked at the screen and frowned. "I have to go," she said, "but be careful, Mr. Leonardo. Mr. Thompson has eyes everywhere." With that, she quickly got up and left the coffee shop, leaving me with more questions than answers. I sat there for a moment, wondering what I had just gotten myself into. Suddenly, I noticed a suspicious-looking man watching me from across the coffee shop. I felt a chill run down my spine. Was I being watched? I quickly paid for my coffee and left the shop, trying to shake the feeling that I was being followed. I walked down the street, glancing over my shoulder, but I didn't see the suspicious man again. I decided to head back to my office and start digging deeper into Mr. Thompson's scheme. I spent the rest of the day researching and gathering information, trying to piece together what had happened to my settlement money. As the sun began to set, I had a plan forming in my mind. I would gather more evidence, document everything, and then go to the authorities. I would get my money back, and I would make sure Mr. Thompson paid for what he had done. I started making a list of all the people I needed to contact, all the records I needed to obtain. I was determined to see this through to the end. Just as I was finishing up, my phone rang. It was Rachel. "I've got some more information," she said. "Meet me at the park at 7 p.m. I agreed and we hung up. I felt a sense of anticipation building. What did Rachel have to tell me? And what would be the next step in our plan to take down Mr. Thompson? I arrived at the park a few minutes early, looking around nervously. Rachel was already there, sitting on a bench. "What did you find out?" I asked, sitting down beside her. "I managed to get my hands on some financial records," she said. "It looks like Mr. Thompson has been using client funds to cover his own business expenses. He's in deep financial trouble." I felt a surge of anger. "We need to take this to the authorities now," I said. Rachel nodded. "I agree, but we need to be careful. If Mr. Thompson finds out what we're doing, he'll stop at nothing to protect himself." I stood outside Mr. Thompson's office building, my heart racing with anticipation. Rachel had managed to get us an appointment with him, and we were determined to confront him about the missing money. We walked into the office, and his secretary showed us to his office. Mr. Thompson looked up from his desk, a look of surprise on his face. "Ah, Mr. Leonardo," he said. "I wasn't expecting you." I walked right up to his desk. "We need to talk about my settlement money," I said. Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, a look of calm on his face. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding," he said. "The money is being held up in probate." I wasn't having it. "Don't lie to me," I said. "I know what's going on. You've been using client funds for your own expenses." Mr. Thompson's expression didn't change, but I could see a flicker of anger in his eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. Rachel stepped forward. "We have the records, Mr. Thompson," she said. "We know all about the offshore accounts and the missing money." Mr. Thompson's face turned red with anger. "How dare you?" he said. "You're just trying to cause trouble." I leaned forward, my hands on his desk. "We're not going away," I said. "We're going to report you to the authorities, and we're going to get my money back." Mr. Thompson sneered at me. "You can't prove anything," he said. "And even if you could, I have friends in high places. No one will believe you." Rachel smiled. "We have enough evidence to take to the authorities," she said, "and we're not the only ones who've come forward. You're going down, Mr. Thompson." Mr. Thompson's face turned white with rage, and for a moment I thought he was going to lose control. But then he composed himself, a cold smile spreading across his face. "We'll see about that," he said. I knew then that we had him on the ropes. We were going to get my money back, and Mr. Thompson was going to pay for what he had done. I turned to Rachel, and we exchanged a look. It was time to take this to the next level. We would go to the authorities, and we would make sure that Mr. Thompson faced justice. As we turned to leave, Mr. Thompson's voice stopped us. "You'll never take me down," he said. "I have too many secrets, too many connections. You'll never win." I turned back to him, a smile on my face. "We'll see about that," I said. And with that, we walked out of his office, determined to bring him to justice. We walked out of the building, into the bright sunlight. "What's next?" Rachel asked. "We go to the authorities," I said. "We tell them everything." Rachel nodded. "I'll make some calls," she said. "Let's get this over with." We walked down the street, our footsteps echoing off the buildings. We were one step closer to getting my money back and one step closer to bringing Mr. Thompson to justice. But I knew that this was just the beginning. Mr. Thompson would fight back, and we would have to be ready. I steeled myself for the battle ahead, determined to see it through to the end. I walked into the district attorney's office with Rachel, determined to get justice. We met with an assistant DA who listened intently as we laid out the case against Mr. Thompson. "We'll investigate and take action," she said, "but we need concrete evidence to build a strong case." Rachel handed over the documents she had gathered. "This should be enough to get started," she said. The DA nodded. "We'll work with forensic accountants to track the money trail and bring charges against Mr. Thompson." I felt a sense of relief wash over me. Finally, someone was taking action. The DA's office worked quickly, gathering evidence and building a case against Mr. Thompson. Days turned into weeks, and I received regular updates on the progress. Finally, the day arrived when Mr. Thompson was arrested and charged with multiple counts of theft and embezzlement. I was called to testify, and I recounted every detail of my dealings with him. Mr. Thompson's lawyer tried to poke holes in my testimony, but the evidence was overwhelming. The jury delivered a guilty verdict, and Mr. Thompson was sentenced to several years in prison. I felt a sense of closure, knowing that justice had been served, but I also knew that there were likely many more victims out there, people who had trusted Mr. Thompson with their money and had been betrayed. The DA's office worked to identify and notify these victims, and a fund was set up to compensate those who had lost money. I was one of the lucky ones in a way. I had gotten my life back on track, and I was determined to make sure that Mr. Thompson couldn't hurt anyone else. As the dust settled, I reflected on the experience. I had been naive to trust Mr. Thompson, but I had also been lucky to have Rachel's help in exposing him. I realized that trust had to be earned, and that sometimes the people who seemed the most trustworthy were the ones who were hiding the most. The case against Mr. Thompson sent shockwaves through the legal community, and it led to changes in the way that lawyers were regulated and overseen. I knew that I had played a small part in bringing about this change, and that gave me a sense of pride and satisfaction. But I also knew that there was still work to be done, and that I would continue to fight for justice and accountability. The experience had changed me, and I was determined to use it to make a positive impact. I left the courtroom that day feeling hopeful, knowing that justice had been served and that Mr. Thompson would face the consequences of his actions. I knew that it wouldn't bring back the money I had lost, but it would help to prevent others from going through the same thing. And as I walked out into the sunlight, I felt a sense of closure and a sense of purpose. I would continue to fight for what was right, and I would never again take trust for granted. I sat in my living room, staring out the window as the sun set behind the trees. It had been months since the trial, months since Mr. Thompson had been sentenced to prison. I thought back to the day I first met him, his confident smile and firm handshake. He had seemed like the perfect lawyer, the perfect person to trust with my case, but it had all been a lie. I thought about the months that followed, the months of frustration and anger as I tried to get my settlement money. The lies, the excuses, the endless delays, it had been a never-ending cycle, and I had been trapped in it. But then Rachel had come forward, and everything had changed. We had worked together to gather evidence, to build a case against Mr. Thompson. It had been a long and difficult road, but in the end, justice had been served. I thought about the people who had supported me throughout the ordeal: Rachel, the DA's office, my friends and family. Without them, I wouldn't have made it through. I thought about the lessons I had learned, about trust and betrayal, about the importance of standing up for what's right. I had been a victim, but I had also been a catalyst for change. And as I sat there reflecting on the past few months, I knew that I had come out stronger on the other side. I had faced my fears, and I had fought for what was rightfully mine. I stood up, walked over to the window, and looked out at the city below. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over the buildings. I felt a sense of peace wash over me, a sense of closure. It was time to move on, to start a new chapter in my life. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool evening air fill my lungs. I was ready for whatever came next. This is the end of my story. Thank you for watching, and if you like this kind of content, kindly leave us a like, share the video and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Thank you.